Welcome back to KC Talks EV, and yes, it's finally time to do the review on the Skywell BE11. This is a large family SUV from the Chinese manufacturer Skywell, and in this video we are going to be talking about its specifications, the driving characteristics and its positives, some rooms for improvement, and finally who is the Skywell BE11 for. So without further ado, let's get started. In terms of specification, we are looking at only two trim levels as such. So we're looking at a 72 kilowatt hour standard range and an 86 kilowatt hour long range model. They don't quote usable capacity, but that is going to be tested on the range test. WLTP combined range for the standard range is 248 miles and for the long range 304 miles. And in my sort of basic testing, I would say that is pretty achievable. Especially on mixed driving, and even on motorways you don't lose that much in terms of range either. In terms of charging options, we have an AC socket, so we've got 11 kilowatt three phase as well as 7 kilowatt single phase. And from the CCS port, we've got 80 kilowatts from the DC fast charging port. Slightly down on comparison to things like a Kia EV6 or even things like the KGM Torres EVX or the Mustang Mach-E. I know the Mustang Mach-E can go up to around 150 kilowatts in charging speed, but it's absolutely fine for a vehicle with 300 miles of range. You are going to stop for a prolonged period of time. Rear boot space is 467 litres. Unfortunately, we don't have a frunk, and I guarantee that there's quite a lot of wasted space, so it would be quite nice to have something to place your charging cables, for example. But the boot is absolutely massive. You can definitely fit a good few suitcases in the back. There is no difference in specification between the standard range and long range, so you still get a digital driver's display, the big centre display as well, panoramic sunroof, as well as tinted rear windows, which is absolutely great to see. In terms of pricing, we're looking at 36,995 for the standard range and 39,995 for the long range, so a £3,000 difference in price, as well as both models are below the VED threshold of £40,000, so no additional VED is expected across 5 years. And one thing to note is that this vehicle definitely shouldn't be compared to things like the BYD Atto 3 or the MG S5 EV. This is much bigger in size and dimensions, so we're probably looking at something like a Mustang Mach-E or a Lexus RZ or a KGM or SsangYong Torres EVX as a point of comparison. And finally, in terms of towing, this is definitely a little bit disappointing. This vehicle has not been type approved for any kilograms of towing, so 0 kilograms. If you compare it to something like the Mustang Mach-E, that has 1,500 kilos of towing if you go for the all-wheel drive model, and even the Lexus RZ has 750 kilograms, and the KGM Torres EVX has 1,500 kilograms. Probably just because, especially in the Chinese domestic market, a lot of people don't really tow with their vehicles, and as a result, they didn't bother type approving it. Now, in terms of handling and driving characteristics, as well as the positives of the Skywell BE11, I would first of all want to say that it's definitely not designed to be the best handling vehicle on the market. It's absolutely 100% set up for comfort. And the thing is that it really does do the comfort part really, really well. So it rides over bumps, it almost kind of glides over them, if I'm quite honest. You almost don't notice them at all. I mean, I've just done the range test on my motorway test route, so that's through the A180, and the wind noise and the road noise is noticeably reduced compared to some of the vehicles that I have tested previously, and it is ultra smooth, especially at higher speeds. It is a little bit disappointing on the handling department. I think something like a Lexus RZ, which is of this comparable size, but the other thing as well is that these seats also do a lot of justice as well. Overall, it's a very comfortable vehicle. One thing to note, however, is that body roll is not very well controlled, in my opinion, even compared to something like a Lexus RZ, and that still has the comfort with it as well. The one thing to note is that the center console is actually ventilated using the air conditioning system, so you can keep drinks in there quite cool, and that has been very useful on the very hot weather that we've been having recently. Also, tinted rear windows in the back and absolutely tons of space in the rear. I've never seen a car with this much space before. Probably a point of comparison would be something like a Skoda Superb Estate. That might have slightly more room in the back, but this is absolutely amazing for rear passengers. And in fact, actually, going into who this vehicle is for, I think something like an airport transfer or alternatively a private hire vehicle would definitely be pretty well suited with this vehicle because rear passenger space is absolutely brilliant. Plus the actual boot space really does make up for it. I've sung its praises. What are the rooms for improvement for the BE11? Now, the first thing I want to say that is quite disappointing, although Skywell have actually got back to me with a couple of questions that I did ask about this vehicle, is the lack of technology. Now, it does have things like DAB radio, the driver's display is absolutely fine as well, but there is no autonomous emergency braking, there is no adaptive cruise control, it's only got standard cruise control, and on a sub £40,000 vehicle, especially in comparison to something like the KGM Torres EVX, that is actually quite disappointing. The interesting thing is, though, I would say, is that a lot of people that I know do complain about some of this technology. Maybe actually that's a good thing, and if you do not want these bits of technology on your vehicle, maybe the Skywell BE11 is actually for you. Also, no heated seats or heated steering wheel, which is very, very disappointing. I would have kind of expected on a car of this price. Even the base model KGM Torres EVX has both heated seats and a heated steering wheel. So if I'm quite honest, that should definitely be a standard feature. Suspension. Now, the suspension, as I mentioned, I think a very, very small tweak to the damping of the shock absorbers, for example, definitely will make a huge difference. And when you stop abruptly, it kind of rocks a little bit. I think with a little bit of increase of damping, especially for our UK roads in particular, I think that would be improved massively. And finally, the infotainment screen. Now, the infotainment screen, I have looked at some people discussing the car, and they say it's absolutely awful. I don't think that at all. It's absolutely fine, and as long as Android Auto and Apple CarPlay work, which it does, and it's wireless Apple CarPlay at least, it's absolutely fine. But the thing is that the app drawer, for example, you need to go in there to access Apple CarPlay, and the navigation being named something a bit silly, and it's not great, the built-in navigation. I would just recommend using Apple CarPlay like the vast majority of people probably would nowadays. So what are my thoughts and what do I think of the Skywell BE11? The one thing is that I am genuinely puzzled. I've had this vehicle now for about 5 days on test. I've done nearly 500 miles in the vehicle. And there was one review that I was looking at that said, I have nothing good to say about this vehicle. Well, in my honest opinion, there are a lot of good positive things to say about the Skywell BE11. The comfort, for example, the rear legroom in the back of it, absolutely outstanding. And I think it definitely fits a particular niche. It is a little bit difficult to kind of justify this vehicle at the price that it's currently at. Especially if you look at the long range at 39,995, there are definitely vehicles in that price range which, for example, are going to be better in things like the handling department, will have towing, and that is the KGM Torres EVX. It's got better WLTP range when you compare it to the standard range model. Lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, so it's got all of that technology, and it's actually for the same price as well. And the other thing is that if you actually go the other end of the spectrum as well, if you add on a bit more cash, so for example, if you look at a Mustang Mach-E standard range select, even though it is around £8,000 more, frankly speaking, it is £8,000 more car. Now, I did speak over with Skywell about this, and currently, up until I think September, they are offering a £6,000 deposit contribution, which would, in theory, bring this vehicle's list price down to around £34,000. I think that's where this vehicle should be really starting at, because if it was at that price, plus maybe a little bit more discount towards the end of years and things like that, I think once they get the word out and get the message out that they're really good value electric vehicles, this vehicle will definitely sell. And I don't think any of the reviews in the past have done this vehicle justice. But I think at the current list price, which I hope no one is kind of paying at the moment, because as I said, there is a dealer deposit contribution currently going, I think it is a little bit difficult to justify it. Now, who do I think this vehicle is actually for? Well, I think the biggest audience will be private hire and airport transfers. Private hire will absolutely love the rear legroom in the back of it, as well as the boot practicality, and private hire for the same reasons. And stuff like, you know, Hull to Manchester, which is about a two and a half hour trip there. Absolutely fine there and back, I would expect. So absolutely, something like private hire or airport transfer would make a lot of sense. So I think that is pretty much it. So if you found this video informative, please like the video, dislike it if you didn't. Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts on the Skywell BE11. Would you pick this vehicle, for example, over a KGM Torres EVX? Or would you like something a bit more in the handling department, so something like a Mustang Mach-E, for example? Or alternatively, would you actually buy one if, for example, you did get the dealer deposit contribution, or maybe even a pre-reg model? But I think that is pretty much it. So, thank you for watching, and talk to you later.